right. Hey, everybody. It's me. It's Alex over at Jet London, Senior Vice President. Going over today's topic is how do you compare or comp single family houses when A, you have access to MLS, and B, you don't have access to MLS. So a lot of investors do use an agent. I do recommend having a real estate agent on your side when you are trying to do deals, but sometimes you guys are just looking at deals on your own and you're driving for dollars and stuff like that. And some of the ideas that you may or issues that you may run across is we'll go like, well, what do you think the property's worth? And then you say, I don't know. I don't know. It could be worth this. It could be worth that. So I'm going to go over some really quick ways to use MLS if you have MLS. And if you don't have MLS, what can you look at that's readily available for you? There are some great options for you from some vendors that come to our meetings and stuff like that that provide softwares to compare properties and things like that. But I suggest you guys buy into that. If you don't have MLS, I suggest you get like a software that does help you do that, because doing it off of, well, we're going to do it off of realtor.com. What you're going to see is not great, but it's a way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to first show you the MLS way. Now, I'm going to go over some topics that how I compare investment real estate. And I'm going to show you a really quick, simple way that if you're running short of time or you're doing it off your phone or an iPad or something like that. Because knowing your values and knowing your repairs are your two key variables to dictate your one variable that you can actually change, which is your purchase price. So once you know the value and then you have a good stomach on what the repairs are, then you can start negotiating purchase price on the profit spread in which you need to make. So knowing values is important. So I'm going to share my screen, and there we go. All right. Welcome to MLS. It's beautiful, right? So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to look at the actives, the option pendings, the pendings, continue to show the pendings, and the sold. I'm going to look within a year. Your appraiser is going to look within the last 6 months. The reason why I look in a year is because I'm looking also for the trend in the market. I'm also trying to find out what's happening in this area. Okay, so it gives me a good wide berth of what's going on within a year's span of time. And if we ever have to make an argument, I can pull up reference that says, look at this area, I think it's worth X. Okay, especially when you're dealing with licensed personnel like appraisers. So there are some categories that you should understand when looking at real estate. One, is there a subdivision? Is there a subdivision section? We're going to make a polygon of streets and landmarks. I'm going to show you how to do that. A street year history and a street full history. Now, when it comes to busy streets, you're going to pay more attention to the street comps. Let's say you're buying a house like on Ella, okay? You're going to actually really take the comps off of Ella, because statistically, a house on a busy street is probably worth 20% less than the houses just a few doors down within the subdivision. So I'm going to show you how to pull that using MLS, and then we're going to do a quick review over like something like realtor.com or something like that. But again, to preface, I think you should invest in some software if you do not have access to MLS. So let's take a big subdivision like Oak Forest in Houston. If anybody's been doing a lot of deals, they've dealt with Oak Forest. And let's pick one here. I have a property here in Oak Forest, Section 12. Now, I'm making this up where this is not a property that I'm currently buying or anything like that. So if I do Oak Forest, Section 12, you can see on the bottom here that there's one result, okay? And sometimes because somebody puts it in as this, but if they don't put it in exactly like that, you may miss some. So we always want to look at subdivision section, in subdivision year. If I do Oak Forest, there's 16 pages of this in the last year. If I go to my map, and you can see, look, it's a perfect example. If you just put the subdivision in, look how many Oak Forests are in the area. So don't just blindly go by your subdivision. It all goes by data. Data is great once it's inputted incorrectly, okay? But you always have to err on the side of caution. So if I put Oak Forest in, I'm going to put the zip code in 2, which is 77018. Went from 400 to 202. Go back to my map results, and there's Oak Forest, okay? So Oak Forest is a very large subdivision. It actually spans over here east of 43rd. So as you can see, as you're comparing properties, I am looking at all this, and I'm going to say, okay, well, I have all this to choose from. So when we look at this property that I have looked at right here is 2,146 square feet. So I'm going to take 2,146 times 20%. I'm going to look at my comparable ranges, 20% plus or minus the square footage of the property. So minus 2,146 is about 1,716. So I'm going to say, here we go. Here, private pool, search, classic. I don't know why I did quick. I like classic. That's what I learned on mobile. A lot of you guys are like, you should use the other one. I'm not. So Oak Forest square footage 1,700 dash plus 2,146 plus 2,146 equals 2,575. So let's say 2,600 square feet. That's my comparable range. Okay. I don't want to look at my 1,500 square foot houses. I don't want to look at my 3,000 square foot houses if I don't have to. When your comp range is limited, you may have to do that and make adjustments. But let's see what we have here. That gives me 227 matches. I'll look at my results, and I kind of scan the data. I still got 10 pages of data here. But one thing I'm seeing is look at all these year builds. A lot of 2021s, in Oak Forest, there's a lot of things that are scraped and rebuilt. And my current property is built in 1955. So that's another variable that you have to look at. Don't take new build houses and compare them with older built houses. Even though they may have the same type of finishes after the repairs, it's still a older house which is commanding a smaller value. Okay, so as you can see, if I do year built to 0 to 1999, I go from 230-ish results to 145. Look at that. Everything's kind of in line. This is my comparable range. Okay. So I made sure to pick a large community like Oak Forest because of its complexity. If I go to the map, yeah, that's right. I didn't put my zip code in this one. Sorry, guys. Hold on. 77018. That goes back to 74. It's even better. All right. Here's Oak Forest in my comparable range. Now, one of the things that you have to consider is when you are looking at Oak Forest or subdivisions like it. Here's West 43rd. Here's TC Jester. Here's Roslyn. Here's Ella. These are all major streets and landmarks. I don't like to cross major streets because, as you guys know, and wherever you live in your cities, when you cross that street, you tend to be in a different type of neighborhood, no matter if it's within the same subdivision. So I like to keep it tight within major streets and landmarks. So if I put in this one house that already sold, there we go. Okay, so that house is right here. I know I don't want to go below West 43rd Street. Okay, and I'm already seeing like probably a not so much of a major street on Roslyn here, but I know that there's a divide. I notice that I can see that over here, there is probably a divide in the type of property, but let's confirm that. So I'm going to take a polygon of this area. And here's a landmark. See this body of water? I want to separate that out. So I want to look just here. So I went from, there we go, 74 to 31 matches of year built, size of the house, and location. Once I look at that, I can look at now my comps, okay? So from here, I'm looking at the actives versus the pendings versus the sold. I have 2 actives in my comp ranges. I have 2 pendings in my comp ranges. I have many solds in my comp ranges. I can see that this is a low inventory area with high sales. So you can see the days on market reflect that. Okay, so I know that I can project my days on market in my profit calculator. And if you don't know how to do a profit calculator, tune into one of our last videos on profits, on how to calculate your profits on days on market, which you can project to see how much money you can possibly make by doing these deals. As another side note, please like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube page. We come up with these educational videos all the time. If you notice that this is information that's worth sharing, share it to people so we can get good information so people can grow their business and make more money. So as I'm looking at this area here, page 1 of 2. So I'm looking at, here's a one in, Oak Forest 12. You can see another one here at 12. Remember when we did section 12, only one came up. That's what I'm saying. Always look at your data. Don't just take everything at face value. So if I look at this, I'm going to start looking at the finishes of these homes. So I'm going to go in the middle of the pack, like in the 550 range, look at the house, and look at the finishes. This house isn't bad, okay? Some of you guys are like, oh, that's great. But as you can see that this was not a recent renovation. And if it was, they didn't really change everything. You notice the divide between the wood and the tile. A lot of times in Oak Forest houses, you're going to see flush ceilings. They did open up the wall. You're seeing the kind of the cherry wood cabinets, which is very late 90s, early 2000s, but it's still, don't get me wrong, it's a very beautiful house, okay? But if I go to my next page and look at these finishes, you got the accented wall. Look, I said the flush ceilings, the recess, the customization, the flooring's all the same. I mean, very modern chic, very modern type coloring. It's almost like a museum inside. I mean, it's like, remember that movie Ferris Bueller? It's very cold, it's very beautiful, and you're not allowed to touch anything. That's this house. So that commanded just under $700,000, where the other one commanded $550,000. And this is where you have to do as an investor, how much money do I need to put in this to equate X? So don't just go and look at, the agent single display price per square foot, get all your comp numbers, and then divide by how many you looked at to get the average. Can't do that. You have to look at the finishes of these properties to see where does my property put in place. So you can see a 585 property looked like this. Nothing crazy special outside. They didn't wash the roof. Still probably a beautiful house. Good sized yard for Oak Forest. But look at the house. Nothing like the last house. So if you're dropping 30 grand in a house in Oak Forest, you ain't going to get the $700,000. I mean, you could drop 10 grand in that kitchen and still, when you're talking about houses in this price range, you're talking about Viking ranges. You're talking about, you're not putting in, granite, you're putting in quartz, things like that. That's why I want to go over how to comp a property, because it's more than just the math here. There's a little bit of an art. There's a little bit of a finesse of saying, okay, I see the image. I see the comparable. I see the finishes. Am I doing that or am I not? And this is how you guys can make quick decisions on your purchase prices when you're working with your agents to say, hey, I want to offer X because I got to do X. Okay, because remember, when you are buying real estate, your seller, I mean, they don't know. They don't know what things are worth. They just know Billy's house down the street sold for this, so mine should sell for this. And you have to have enough knowledge on why you came up with your number and how you need to make this work for your profit margins so you know what you can buy. And that is, so let's say you're like, well, Alex, I'm going to do the high-end stuff. So let's look at this one here to make sure that the divide, look at that house. You can already tell that, I mean, the agent did a wonderful job. They actually hired someone to take pictures. So, I mean, beautiful house, very modern. There's a pool. That's a rendering. Oh, I see what they did. They did a rendering of it. Okay, well, we're not going to use that one. We're going to use this one. All right. Still coming in very, you know, maybe your taste, maybe not, but they got the waterfall islands. You can tell somebody took a lot of time in this house. Okay. So that house commanded, you're like, Alex, I'm going to put like 70 grand in this house. Okay, now we can talk. So I'm going to do 254 plus 311 plus 299 plus 319 plus 298 plus 311. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That puts an average of 265. Okay, let's see. I miscalculated. 4 plus 3, 11 plus 2 plus 319 plus 298. I missed the 298. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Puts it at 298 average price per square foot. Our property was 2146 times 2146. All right. This house, on average, if we used our averages, should have sold for $641,000. On MLS, this house sold for $669,000 because it looks like there was a bidding war. But guess what they priced it at? $650,000. So it's like don't take your average. Remember, it's an average of plus or minus. Okay, and that's how you calculate price per square footage. You have to understand the variables. When you're on MLS and you have all this data, you have to understand, okay, I'm looking for, you know, I want to see what's active. What are people trying to sell things for? A good, you know, just to go back with that. Right here, there's two actives. One has been on the market for 104 days, and one has been on the market for 11. 104-day one is on Ella, busy street, okay? You're not going to command the same type of value on a busy street than you are going to be in the subdivision. The other one is completely rehabbed on DeMilo, and they did a wonderful job, okay? So you can see that one's just been on the market. Everything else, 20 days pending, 2 days pending. Okay, so you're going to see, okay, why I want to look at these variables on how I can calculate what's the reasonable days on market. Okay, so that's what we do when we have MLS. You look at your variables, you look at your finishes, you look what's in your comparable square footage range. Okay, that's why it's nice to have like an agent that can do this for you. If you're not using an agent, you need to consider doing so. Or become an agent and have access to MLS. All right, you don't have MLS. You don't have a software. You're on your phone sitting in front of somebody's house in Oak Forest trying to figure out if you should buy this or not, okay? Now, this is going to be not as clean, all right? So if I look up Oak Forest on something like Realtor.com, I just picked a website that I would think that most people would use, okay? And here we go. I go to map view, and I got to make sure I looked up where my property was. You know, use Google Maps, so that's right. Just north of 43rd and east of TC Jester. So I got to go look at and find that. There it is. So I'm in this area here. Okay, so I'm sitting right here waiting for to figure out what I should do. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to more filters, home size. So remember, it was 1,700 square feet. Well, they don't give me that off, so I'll say 1,700 by, what was it? 26. Okay, it goes down, doesn't it? All right. All right, let's do another filter. Let's say home age. No max age, but a minimum age. Let's see, that was, oh my, that was 20 years ago. All right, it goes down even more. So those are my comparable ranges. Use your filters, okay? So if I'm sitting here, I can now zoom in, and remember, this is not all the data. It doesn't have a lot of your solds and stuff like that. It may. So let's say I'm sitting right here. All right, what's this one look like? That's pending. I know that's pending. I'm going to look at the finishes. I don't know what this person's pending for, but I'm looking at the finishes. This person did an excellent job with the budget they had, okay? But they just kind of cleaned it up and put some nice things in there. I think they did a wonderful job, okay? All right, so that's at a 590. And then I look over here at a 715 one right down the street. That's the one we looked at earlier, okay? And I calculate the actual dollar amount and divide by how much I have to see what's reasonable. It is not going to be as accurate if you have access to MLS, okay? So this is a way that you can do it here while using filters. Another way you can do this is, another way you can do this is actually getting with your lender, all right? Oh, how many square feet? I wonder who this is. In fact, I know the answer to this. Who knows how many square feet are in an acre? Okay, because this is actually a test question that gets brought up at Jet Lending all the time. Eddie will circle through the office and ask people this question. So it's drilled into my head. I know the answer. Who watching knows how many square feet are in an acre? Put it in the comment box, okay? So another thing you can do for values is get with your lender, okay? Whether you're using Jet Lending or not, I don't know if anybody else does this. I know we have to do this. So we'll actually comp the property. We've done over 3,400 loans. Eddie Gant has bought thousands of properties. So we'll actually comp the property within 24 hours and say, listen, with what you said you're going to do and what we see in the comps, and here's the comp package, are you aware that if you send an appraiser out, you may get X? Doesn't mean we're right. Doesn't mean we're wrong. But we are using data, retrospective data from what we've seen, retrospective data, what's in MLS, and saying, are you aware that this could happen? We're not going to use prospective data, which is like speculation of what we're seeing in the trending market. That's up to the risk of the investor. Say, well, I think 2021 we appreciated 18%, so by the time I'm done, it's going to be worth this. We can't do that. You have to go with what has happened, because anything can happen in markets. So you can get with your lender, and they'll give you a good idea of what you can expect on value. And it's free of cost and things like that. So you can have a true second opinion on value. You have to understand that your hard money lenders only make money closing loans. So if you ever get a hard money lender tell you that, hey, let's say you thought something was worth 700,000, or it's kind of probably worth 620, and this is why. We are into the know that if we tell you that and you're like, well, I'm not doing this deal, I'm going to go to another lender. We don't make any money telling you things that you don't want to know. We're trying to save you. We're trying to make sure that you are protected, because we're not in the business of taking properties back. We want you to go sell this and go buy another one. That's how we make more money, when you go buy something else. So you can get with a lender that really cares about your business to comp the property and tell you the honest truth of what we're seeing in the market, so you can plan accordingly. Now, can the appreciation factor happen and the property sells for way more after you're you've done 5 months of like repairs, sure, that's fantastic. But always err on the side of caution of what can happen, if X. Okay, so one of the things that we preface a little bit in the beginning that I'll finish up on is busy streets. Busy streets do not command the same amount of value within the subdivision. Okay, this is where the investor has to put two hats on. You have to put your investment hat on, then you have to put your consumer hat on. Okay, as a consumer, and you have $700,000 to spend, are you going to buy a house on TC Jesser, battling traffic, trying to get in and out of your house, the noise and all that kind of stuff back and forth for the same amount of cost? Probably not. Okay, so you have to understand that if you're going to do that, you have to understand that when you comp special areas like busy streets, you have to compare the busy street almost by itself. And if you don't have enough comps, you can take that little polygon that we did and try to reduce the value about 20%. And that's probably where you're at. And if you can get more after you sell it, fantastic. But I'm telling you, your days on market are going to be higher. Your holding costs are going to be higher. You have to project your profits differently when you're on a busy street. Okay, so if you're having any confusion or this, like I went through some topics that maybe were too fast, or you're like, what, you answered some questions, but you didn't answer all my questions, contact me at Jet Lending. Instant message us on all our social media platforms. We have a very detailed YouTube video on this that's pretty lengthy. Go watch that, subscribe to our channel, give us a call, text us at our office. It's 281. Let's see, I'll put it because you guys are going to remember it. I'm just going to put the banner up. I should have put the banner up earlier. So you can text us, do whatever you need to get, like I said, 281-872-7800. Let us know how we can improve your business. Let us know how we can help you succeed. Let us see how we can answer all these questions for you, because these videos are not just to be all inclusive. They're supposed to generate thought. So we can start hearing your specific questions about your specific business plan on how we can make you better. So if you like that, if you want to have a better in-depth detail, contact us. We'll be happy to go through with anything. Also, if there's anything that you guys want a topic on getting that we haven't done a video on, or we've done one in the past, you want a new one, let us know and we'll do one for you. And we will get everything squared away. Nobody has commented on the square footage. It is 43,560 square feet in an acre. So write that down. You should know that, so you can start calculating like your land sizes and stuff like that. Anyway, I hope this was informative for you. I hope you guys learned something. And if you need anything, let us know, and we'll talk to you later.